What's going on? What's going on, man? This is your brother Basheer Jones, and welcome to BasheerSpeaks. I'm about to change that name. We're gonna have to change it to something else, man, because I got these brilliant minds on here with me, and I can tell you, it ain't just my words. I come here and I learn a lot from these great people who's here with me. Gotta go to the Queen first.
Hey.
What's going on, Gwen?
Everything
What's
is
up?
wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for having me
How you
here.
doing?
I'm great. Grateful to be here.
Good. Thank you for being here. And my brother, man, this is one of my closest friends, but also my therapist. He's a guide for me, man. Just somebody who I really can bounce ideas off of and learn a lot. My good friend, man, Anthony Williams. What's up, brother?
How you doing, man? I said today is the day I'm not turning down any flowers, so I'll take it all today, man. But it's a good day for a conversation. I appreciate being here, my brother.
For sure, man. You deserve the garden, man. You deserve it, man, for real. Well, man, a lot has gone on. As you know, if you tuned in to our show last week, we had or a couple weeks ago, rather, we had a lot of great conversation about a lot of different stuff, huh, Gwen?
Ooh, it turned out to be a gamut.
Yeah.
It was a nice garden.
It was, man. But then as we look and see what's been happening in the world as of a couple of days ago, it just seems like that conversation was absolutely necessary. You know what I'm talking about. The slap heard all around the world.
Oof.
In the past, present, and the future. Or was it?
Or was it?
Will Smith, he went up and he laid hands on our brother Chris Rock. Both of them are our brothers. And this just fits into the conversation, our dialogue today as we discuss this. And as we also discuss, how can you be what you've never seen? As we begin the journey of healing. We all want to heal. We all are looking for ways to make our lives better for the next generation. First, I just want to just jump out there, man. When you saw the slap, like, how did you feel about it?
Initially, honestly, I said, man, that's a staged situation. It felt staged to me. It was something about Chris Rock's bracing himself, and then the aerial view, it kind of looked like Will was smiling a little bit, like his cheek was up. And I was like, oh yeah, they didn't put together this whole thing to prove, without a doubt, that he is the greatest actor, right? To just put that out there, just so in case y'all was wondering, we can stage this whole thing, make you think a whole thing, and I earned every bit of that Oscar.
Wow, that's how you took that.
That's how I took it.
Wow.
It was produced by Will Packer, too.
Hey,
the Oscars was produced by Will Packer this year, too. So
Who's Will Packer? Who's that?
The director, he's directed a lot of...
a lot of movies.
Yeah, a lot of movies.
Okay. So at what point did you know?
Well, so I went along with the conversation because I said, I want to unpack this a little bit, but I didn't fully think it was, I still wasn't convinced that it was fake, but I wasn't convinced it was 100% real until I saw him crying in his acceptance speech. And I felt like, yeah, but you are the Oscar-winning actor, like the best actor. So how do we know that you're not acting now? How do I know that this whole thing is not something? It seems like something, maybe a distraction. Maybe we talking about Hollywood. So anything is possible. We're talking about the show business, the business of show. So what better way to show something? It created a whole lot of controversy, created a whole lot of conversation. For what? What's coming up? So
that's interesting. Dub, man, your thoughts, man.
Over the last 2 to 3 years, I have learned more about Will and Jada than I ever care to know. I have learned more about their relationships and what they do and what they don't do. That is just. So on the one hand, I don't really care to know their personal business because I know that that there's just not enough context for what they did before, what they did after, what issues they have personally, to really make any type of decision on it. So on the one hand, I don't care. But then on the other hand, I know that people are judging themselves based on this limited information. Like they are evaluating themselves based on the behavior of these public people. So in that instance, it is something that we need to talk about and really dissect so that people have a better understanding of it, because it is something that is affecting people in their day-to-day life.
Can you go deeper into that? Go deeper into that. How are people judging themselves based upon this situation?
As a culture, you know, we still have this pervasive feeling of secondhand embarrassment, right? Now, on the day-to-day basis, we don't really relate to Will and Jada and Chris Rock. A lot of they are what a lot of people would consider the Hollywood elite. They are rich, they are wealthy, they don't live with the average person. Mm-hmm. But even in that sense, when they go and they get into a scuffle or something like that, you have a lot of people that feel embarrassed as a group based on the actions of these two people that they don't know and will never meet and don't really have a connection to. So in that instance, you see yourself through the prism of other people's negative behavior, but you are not associated with any of their positive behavior. You know, so we evaluate ourselves based on what, and you know, we know that the history of this one big person, you know, this one big person ideology that has been put into us, but you know, it's an illness that we have. Wow. You know, that it's hard for us to get out of that.
Wow. And get out of what specifically?
About how to, you know, other cultures, other societies, when they have, let's say they have a school shooting, the community as a whole, they don't feel a tie to the act that one person committed.
That's deep. Yeah.
It's not something that affects the entirety of their community. It's just a lone wolf type of environment. So when Will slaps Chris Rock, a lot of us don't see it as Will just slap Chris Rock. Like, that's two men who just had an issue. That has nothing to do with me. Right? We see it as, oh my goodness. You know, they done got up here and embarrassed us in front of these good white folks. You know what I mean? Right. And so, you know, we carry that around with us, you know, at the movies, at the store, man. You know, in a lot of ways we carry this thought process.
That's deep, man. That's deep. That's deep. Gwen, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, that is true. That was one of the things I think I was the most irritated about, is that, okay, on one hand, you're okay with him having all of these human experiences, right? Different human experiences. He's jumping out of a plane, and you're right there with him. He's talking about having an open relationship with his wife, and you're right there with him. Not sure if you should be, but you're there. And then he does something that is completely, totally different from his character or how he's presented himself to be. And now everybody is aghast. I can't believe it. How would he do this and shame these people and do this in our culture and like, I was irritated about that. I didn't agree that he should have been the representation of all of these people and being so let down. I thought that was ridiculous. I think, okay. There was another point that I just learned about that Chris, I don't know for sure. I don't want anybody to come for me. I'm not a medical doctor.
Just throw that out there.
Disclaimer, allegedly. He is on the spectrum and doesn't understand nonverbal cues. So that changes this whole thing completely, if that's true. Right. Because in my mind, I said, well, if this was true and this really did happen, perhaps Jada and Will had a conversation in the car, and she was like, Will, now you know, he tries it every year. I need you to say or do something.
Let's start right there because I want you to go deeper into that. First, let me say, for me, I knew that he was not joking when I looked him in his eyes.
Who?
Will Smith. When he came back to his seat,
okay,
and he sat down, you can look in his eyes and say, this wasn't no act. For me, I could look in his eyes and say, and matter of fact, previous to that, when Chris Rock began to do the talking, you saw Jada's response. You know what I'm saying? Her response was an uneasy, like, oh God, here we go again. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And initially, the brother was laughing, right? And maybe he could have been laughing just because nervousness or whatever. I'm reading his book right now, so that's been a reaction of his.
I'm not even reading it, and I knew that.
Yeah, so that's been a reaction, just laughing. And listen, we all know if you go to the improv, you better not sit in the front.
I was just about to say that, and they tell you, they tell you, hey, if you don't want to be a part of the show, don't get those seats right
Come
there.
on, man. We
They
know
let
that.
you know that. So,
I mean,
So, you know.
so they were supposed to sit somewhere else.
Well, I'm just saying that they know this is
It's a hot spot.
it's a hot spot.
It's
okay?
a hot spot.
So I knew, and seeing how she responded, and then seeing him be activated by her response, get up, you understand, do what he did. And it wasn't like, I'm gonna slap you and then what's up? It was like slap, turn around,
I'm gonna turn my whole
and
back.
walk around and walk away. Now, if Chris Rock would have responded, he would have looked like the aggressor, because then he would have snuffed them from the back. You know what I'm saying? It could have became something. I think the real MVP in all this was Chris Rock, but I'm gonna get to that in a second.
Yes.
So then Will Smith, when he said, keep my wife name, when he was talking, I seen his eyes, I said, oh, he's not playing. He's serious right now. This is not like an act. So at any point did you feel, as a woman, at any point did you feel like, yeah, he's taking up for his wife?
I have two things about that. I'm of two minds about it. One, I think that him standing up, she should have stood up and said, don't do that, or whatever. I think she should have reacted in a way that also shows protection of him as well.
Speak on
and
that.
the reason why I
Speak
say
on
that is because you have to consider everything. And if I'm unable, or if you're unable to get to that place in reasoning, somebody has to be able to bring it back to reason. And that's the beauty of husband and wife, partnership, teammates. We're on the same team. We've been working hard to get to this particular level. And that changed for me.
Yeah, her presence makes him unreasonable, but go ahead.
Wow. Well, I think he's probably always in the state of having to prove himself to her in so many different ways, even after you become the best in everything that you've done, right?
Right.
You've become the best in everything that you've done, and she's still like, not enough, Will, at some level.
To feel that the very thing that you want to succeed in so much, to feel that you failed in that, like us who grew up in our neighborhoods, most of us, all we ever wanted to do was be the father that our father wasn't. That's all he wanted to be. If you read Will Smith's book, he talks about how, you know what I'm saying, the family dynamic and how he felt he let his family down.
And he said,
he said he felt he left his mother down, her mother down because of how his father was very abusive. He felt like he didn't stand up for her. So at that point, you can see that he is being gaslighted to feel like, let me stand up. At no point was she like, no, baby, sit down. No, don't do that.
No.
At no point. And even when he came back and sat down, it wasn't like she was hugging him like,
thank you for
smiling
going
a
up
little
there.
bit.
she was smiling, kind of clapping. As Chris Rock was talking, she was like, like still kind of like, you know what I mean? I really feel, man, I really feel really bad for this brother, man.
Me too. Now, I mean, not now. I felt that way initially because I think the situation in general is just unfortunate. The fact that you think that you can stand up and hit this guy and walk with your whole back away from him, it says a lot. One, you knew who to smack.
Or to even think that was manhood.
That too. That's a whole other issue inside of it.
Yeah, like that's not manhood.
It's just not even, I don't even eat animals, so I'm not trying to hurt anything. But I just don't understand why he thought
I'll
that
smash
that
a
was
burger,
okay.
but go ahead.
In Chicago, they call it getting sent off. Like somebody, it's like having a missile. A man can be used as a missile in a lot of situations. And somebody can send you off, meaning that they can give you some information that's based on something that could be false, it could be wrong, it could be something that you don't know about. And in your mind, you are in protection mode. So you're just going to do some work on behalf of a person, but the reason that they're sending you is not a good enough reason. So if you think about that, in the household, the father is like a missile, but he can only be used once. At any time when you are with your family, most responsible men, we have the understanding that at any given time I might not come back because I am going to make sure that my family goes home. And I think that so the question that I always have, man, and that I would want to ask you is like, what does that deserve? Like, does it at least deserve respect? Like my sister said, does it deserve protection? What do you get in exchange for the possibility that you may never return home?
Let's go.
Because if like you said, there was no protection there, right? And Will, in my opinion, he looks 10 times worse for choosing Chris Rock. Like,
Yeah.
there are no points to be earned from slapping Chris Rock. I don't care what he say. You know, it's just he is not this. He doesn't represent this level of masculinity that slapping him is gonna protect her femininity. In my opinion,
And even though he showed, in my opinion, the most masculine energy in that whole situation. You know, in our tradition, it says that the strongest man is not the one who can out wrestle the other, but the one who can control their anger. So in that situation, Chris Rock showed the most strength, and it didn't stop either. Not only got slapped, he continued with the show.
Yeah.
Did
Made
not
a
press
joke.
charges. Didn't press charges. Like right now, besides the Oscar being potentially taken away from Will Smith, like he can get assault. He could get fined, do some time. He could really be into another situation, man. So, and it goes back to our conversation that we had some weeks ago. Because the question you asked is a powerful question, man. And that is, really, what is manhood? What is manhood worth? What is manhood worth to this society where you always hear this word toxic masculinity, but you very rarely hear toxic femininity? We don't really talk about toxic femininity. That is an example of toxic femininity. And then to say, well, we're going to talk about it at the red, as if we ain't talked enough at the damn Red Talk table.
Right. That's a source of his pain.
Right. So the first thing is, in my opinion, Sister Gwen, and I want to hear your thoughts about it. First of all, I ain't sitting at nobody's table. If anybody gonna come, you can come sit at my table, where there's rules and regulations of how things are gonna go and how it's not gonna go. But if you come and sit at another person's table, then there ain't no rules and regulations that you can implement or follow. That's Jada's table, man. And in that family, that's Jada's family. And unfortunately, our brother, man, is being used as a tool to achieve whatever healing that the sister needs to go through. I mean, to hear her talk about not being fulfilled with sex with the brother, to hear. Now, Will Smith is a person that we've always admired. He has been, for our community and the world, the pinnacle of like masculinity, our hero. You know what I'm saying? Our hero. So to fail at something that the only thing that you ever wanted to achieve was to be a good family man, and to fail at that, whether you see how children act, man, or you see how the wife act, to really look at that and say, damn, man, somewhere I failed here at the place that I wanted to succeed so much. This is where I failed. And honestly, man, he could have thrown away everything at that moment.
He could have. I don't know if do you think he looks at it as though he's failed?
Of course not.
Okay.
No one who fails does. If you are unconscious about your failing, you don't ever see it. You gotta watch this movie. It's a movie. It's called, it's by Robin Williams. I always talk to you. I told you about it. As Dreams May Come.
Okay.
It is.
I heard of it.
The #1 love story, in my opinion, on movie. Because what happened is his wife, she kills herself. So he dies, the children die. It's really sad. But then he goes to heaven and the wife goes to hell. And since she committed suicide, according to the movie, the type of hell that she's in is she don't even know she's in hell.
Oh, wow.
So she feel like she living and she's in hell.
Right.
So he forsakes heaven to go get her.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And they tell him like, yo, if you go, you might, if you stay there long enough, you gonna forget you in hell too. And he said, I'm willing to risk it. And he goes there and he gets it's a beautiful movie.
I can't wait. Okay.
So my point is that sometimes when we in hell, unless somebody from heaven come and recognize it, you won't even recognize you in it. But now it's been on display, man, for the world to see. But I guess my question to you is as what do you feel, how do you view Jada? I mean, how do you view, and then we can transition because we don't want to make this all about it, but do you view her as the victim? Do you feel that she's innocent in this?
I think that everybody has a role in this whole situation. The reason why I say that is because they have constantly had this, I need you to prove a particular thing and way and to me in the relationship. She has wanted him to protect and be there and be a part of her world. A documentary I think I saw of her, and she was talking about, I didn't want a 50th birthday party or whatever it was. I wanted him to be here with me. I didn't want to celebrate with all of these people. So I think that they are collectively trying to ask. I don't know if it's ungrateful. I don't think it's ungrateful, but I think it's her saying, listen, we have parties all the time. We're always entertaining people. This is a very special time in my life. I just want it to be us.
Whose business is that? You know what I mean?
They were having a conversation. It was a part of the conversation.
I think that's the part of the I think that's the part of it.
Well, they're public. You know, they're public people, and they thrive off of being in the public eye and getting a perspective.
Now that's deep. Say that again. They thrive. That's deep.
They thrive off of it.
That's interesting. Because we don't never hear about Denzel and his wife.
I mean, because they don't. Denzel is not putting her out there like that, and she's not gonna embarrass him in a particular way either. You know what I mean? They are classic. I love them together. She understands and he understands. So their wisdom for me in Hollywood.
True.
So. You know, go back to what I think that the issue is primarily is that they're both trying to prove something to the other. And instead of accepting each other for where they are and what they're doing, she's healing and she's in this, I need to heal and I'm going to heal and I'm going to heal publicly and I'm going to heal and we're going to talk about everything. And at some point she got an okay from him to do that. Because then it exposes their whole life. It exposes that we have an open marriage. People have been asking questions about it forever. They're in a partnership. They're in a building. They're building and have built an amazing, huge situation. Walking away is not like, all right, forget you. It's like, let's be smart about this. We have to handle this from a business standpoint. And that's what they did. So they have this arrangement. They have these relationships within these entanglements and all of the things. He's not unaware of that. We just don't know about his people.
You don't think he looked unaware at the Oscar night? Because he looked unaware to me.
Oscar night,
he looked unaware of his masculine divine self. He looked very unaware.
I think Will is stuck in two movies. I think he's stuck in
Richard Williams movie with Richard
he's stuck in Groundhog Day and a ghost of boyfriend's past or something like that. He's stuck in between two roles that he cannot escape, and Jada is like the director that's just like running him between two sets.
Well, he was fresh off of Rich Williams, playing Richard Williams, and so Richard Williams displayed and had always been a very different type of respect. He's about a whole different type of respect. He walk out of interviews, man, I ain't about to be, if you're familiar with him, you understand. So I think that he still had that little, that blood in him.
Yeah, I think.
So he was like, oh, you're not going to disrespect me. And took it to another level that it probably, it definitely shouldn't have been.
But who disrespected him? Who really disrespected him and continues to disrespect him?
Well, I think it's a combination. And the reason why I say it's a combination.
And the only reason why we having this conversation because it's already public for public consumption. But I think what Anthony said earlier, that we can reflect upon this and learn, and learn from it. You know what I'm saying? And I why you look at me like that? Why you look at me like that?
Go ahead,
I'm thinking that we can learn from this situation. So we're reflecting upon it. And so what's your thought?
I agree. I think that when you said, you asked the question, who is the person that is guilty? Or
no, not guilty. We were saying that, Will Smith, I guess my point is that as a woman.
Right, how she's seen.
You know what I'm saying? Because everybody was talking about, that's what I'm talking about. Stand up for the black woman.
Who's to blame? This is what I was saying. I'm sorry. Thank you. Go ahead. When I think that they had a conversation in the car, like I said, I don't know how it went. I wasn't there. I don't know. But I think that they had a conversation before they got there because they weren't in the same body language that they had previously been in award ceremonies before. If you look at them before they got into the Oscars, their body language was a little different. Like they had a conversation perhaps in the car, and she said, listen,
the fact that if that's the reality, if what you're saying is the reality,
watch it and see.
That right there would be a major problem.
Right.
If she said, listen, before we go up in here.
Nah, but listen, I mean, I think that was
you
like,
better,
listen, since 2016, every time we see Chris, he on some trash, and all you do is laugh at me with him. Now listen, in every situation, they're laughing.
Right.
It's a ha ha he. And she's like, I'm tired of it. I'm dealing with something that has completely destroyed my confidence, my self-esteem, or whatever it is, this medical condition, and I feel a particular kind of way. And he's going to get up there and he's going to say something crazy, and I want you to handle it.
So yeah,
now,
let's talk about this 5 minutes before we get to the Oscar.
Okay.
They friends with Chris Rock.
She wants, and he like, baby, listen, don't worry about it because I already talked to Chris. That's my boy. We talk, it's good. Don't worry about it. That's why he started laughing like that when Chris started in. He like, you just heard me tell you to stop doing it. And you gonna do it? You gonna do it?
Is that true? Did that happen?
Listen,
Did that happen?
I think that's what happened.
I
And then he got up there and was like,
happened,
I think he got up there and was
Glenn,
like,
you
man,
making
I
up a whole
told
movie.
you.
You making up a whole movie right now.
I told
See
you.
what I'm saying?
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
No, I don't think
That's what happened.
That's another role. I think Will lost about 25 years ago. However old that kid is, Will lost at that point because he failed to ask the most important question that a man can ask a woman. Are you open to loving somebody else? You know, like, or have you already found that love that shaped you? Because if you have, then I need to know my place in it, because otherwise I'll spend my entire life trying to live up to something that I've never seen.
Wait,
you know?
You want him to ask and say, what again? I'm sorry.
Are you open to loving somebody without subjecting me to everything that you've been through already? Most of the time, for the average woman, it's my opinion that their idea of the man that they'll be with is shaped in the first few men that they are with in their life, you know? And for the rest of that time, if those things don't work out, they'll be spending the rest of that time trying to piece together that ideal person.
Wow.
So Will is almost a billionaire, right? Most women will say that he's handsome, you know, but like he has a lot of qualities that the average woman will give everything away to be with. But for this one person, he cannot, it seems from what they put out in the public, that he cannot overcome a specific thing. Wow. And that is because the only person on the planet that is seen with more esteem than Will Smith is the person that the public also links Jada to, which is Tupac. You know, the only person, one of the only people that are more beloved in the community than Will Smith is Tupac. So if that is the ghost that you're chasing when it comes to the affection of a woman, man, that's a losing cause.
It is.
Especially with a dead man.
That's a stretch. It's a reach. It's a deep dive, and I respect it. I just feel like I don't know if that's really it. I think that maybe it could be a part of it, but I think ultimately they both have this like a unique way of thinking and a unique way of being and creating their lives, and so they didn't have to really have it out in front, on Front Street. And now that they've chosen to, is everybody's opinion on top of it when they were really kind of cool with it.
But she's adding to the fire. If a woman chooses a man, some of the stuff that Jada says publicly about Will, it would never happen. There are very few women that would ever get on national TV and say, well, yeah, he don't please me in a way that I like to be pleased. Now, how does she know how she's like to be pleased? Because somebody else has already done it. So that is a comparison that she's making publicly. She's not just saying that he doesn't know what to do. She's implying that he can't do what has already been done.
I think that they play these particular mind games with each other in the public, and I think that it's a game for them.
When has Will Smith played a game?
I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Will
I'm
Smith
just saying,
hasn't. Will
you
Smith
don't know
hasn't.
that.
Well,
You don't know that though.
Oh, are you giving me? Have an example?
I do.
Give me
if
one.
you would let me speak.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. I think that whenever he does things like, for example, that party, when she was like, I don't want you to have a party for me. I don't want you to throw it. And he was like, I'm not. And he said, I just didn't hear her. I wasn't listening to her. I wasn't paying attention to her. I was actually being very selfish.
Are you comparing that? Gwen, are you comparing that?
I am. I'm starting there.
Are you comparing?
I'm starting there.
Are you comparing?
I'm starting there.
Go
You're
ahead.
not letting me finish
Go
it.
ahead.
You just wrapped up.
Yeah, I'm
into
just like, how can
ready
you
to
compare the
go?
two? A birthday party.
I'm saying him not listening to what she needs and wants consistently. Like this isn't something that's new. It didn't just start. This is a consistent thing that he's done.
According to her.
According to her and according in their relationship. And the difference is she's constantly comparing him to somebody that is not even living. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's good. It's a great reason, but it seems like they have this back and forth.
So in other words, yeah, Will Smith hasn't embarrassed her publicly in the way that she's embarrassed him. He hasn't.
You know that
He hasn't. From what I've seen, from what we've seen in the public eye, we've seen Jada say he can't fulfill her sexually. We've seen her say, "I've had this entanglement." We've seen her publicly
and they
destroy
say that they
his
have
man.
an open marriage. They say
but you haven't heard Will Smith say, "I'm not fulfilled by her." You constantly hear him saying, "Love and keep my family together," and I'm choosing love. This is my best friend. You constantly hear him saying that. You don't ever hear him say anything about the expression of feeling unfulfilled by his wife. And I guess the point I was making is that if a woman says, "Yeah, I just didn't get the party that I wanted," and
I'm saying it's a consistent. I'm talking about, that's one example that we know about. I don't know all of the examples. I'm starting
it's just our
there.
opinions. Okay,
it is. It's all our opinions, right? And this is I mean, it's funny and it's not funny at the same time, because it's talking about these people's lives and all of that.
Right.
They are going to collect the check at the end of the conversation. Period. And so to me, a lot of the times I'm like, okay, so now I need to follow the money, because how does this? Why does this even make sense? Why are we having this conversation? Mm-hmm. I'm glad that we are, though, because it's exposed a lot of people in their opinions and their thoughts about it. I found out that a lot of women didn't think that they're supposed to be protected in a particular kind of way, not that way, but a particular kind of way.
Speak on that. Go deeper on that. What do you mean by that?
Like, there are some women who don't believe that they were supposed to be protected in that kind of moment. Like, what he's supposed to do? You know, he's supposed to just sit down and take it? Or is the other hand, was people saying he's supposed to go up there and punch him in the mouth? Yeah, he did, right?
Yeah.
And
tell me who those women are. I like to see their situations.
Right, yeah. I was about to say. Yeah.
I would like to see their situations.
By themselves.
Because especially being black men in America, we know that one situation, because let me tell you something.
Ooh, it just don't stop there.
Come on. I mean, that assault that the brother did on the other brother, I mean, he should have been arrested that night. We know that. But based upon the fact that he's Will Smith, that's the only reason why he wasn't arrested. If a fan would have ran up there and slapped Chris Rock, he would have got arrested, right?
For sure.
So I guess we have to really look at this situation and have a conversation. I guess what I got from it, to move towards the healing part of it, and like, we all are carrying some type of baggage, some type of healing, some type of trauma. You know what I'm saying? And if we're not careful, we can bring it into situations, and here I am adding my trauma to your bag. You know what I'm saying? Here, take this here with you. And now you done left the situation, got my trauma with you and yours. Mm-hmm. So we clearly saw trauma being on an international stage. Mm-hmm. And it had nothing to do with Chris Rock. This ain't have nothing to do with Chris Rock face. It didn't have nothing to do with alopecia. That's what it's called, alopecia? It didn't have nothing to do with that. My mother, who had breast cancer, went through chemo, had her hair. That wasn't like it was liver cancer or nothing like that. So I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm saying we've seen videos of her embracing her beauty. Mm-hmm. That was a time for Will Smith to say, "Come here, bring that beautiful head to me, and let me kiss that head in front of everybody, let everybody," not to get up and possibly throw everything away. And any woman who's okay with the possibility of you throwing everything away is the same woman that when you get locked up, there's going to be all type of entanglements continuing. So, brother, my word to you, brother, and any man out there, don't you ever throw anything away on behalf of nobody. And whoever truly loves you would not even expect that from you.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
You know, so I think that, so how do we begin that part of it? Because we had a conversation a couple weeks back, and it was a real hot and heavy conversation about manhood, about womanhood, about what men, the trauma. Ain't that something though? We talked about this.
It is.
The trauma
and then how it manifests itself right into this new space. That's something. I agree with what you said though, and you both have said it in some degree about you have to have a conversation and say, listen, a real conversation, an open, honest conversation. People are missing that still. They're putting their representatives, I think we talked about the representatives last time. Right. you have your representative showing up, and your representative look good, talk good, smell good, sound good, it's all good. But then when you break down all of those layers and you come outside of that onion peel, is it still okay? Is it still all right now? Are you still going to accept me for who I am? And so I think people don't do that enough. They're still looking for looking at the representative and wanting that person to show up. So if we can break down those particular things, I think we can start from a healthier place than where we've started from before.
How do you break that down, Dub? And how do you, I mean, forget being who someone else wants you to be. You know what I'm saying? Because we get into relationships and, you know, we want that person to be what we want them to be for us. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. But what are the steps to just being open with who you are, embracing who you are, recognizing what you want and what you don't want, and move away, you understand, the traumas that you've experienced to really get to the person who you know what I mean, need to be?
Sure, that's a good question. And just to piggyback on what Gwen said, I think the first thing that we have to do is we got to kind of go into a protection mode as a community. We have to stop allowing this dominant culture to tell us what the news is. We never really get a world history lesson about anything. Like world news doesn't apply to this community. If an event takes place in somewhere in the world, there is not every news agency is not targeting this group and speaking to them about these world issues. Entertainment is our world news. You know, that is what defines our day-to-day lives. That's the water cooler talk. That's what we ride to school and our kids are talking about it. It's like from the infants to the seniors, they're all having the same conversation in our community. So to some degree, we are being made into a monolith about nonsense, you know? And so, you know, we have to kind of go into a protection mode and even stop accepting news of these events. Like, if we don't accept it, then it's just Will slap Chris, and that's that. And tell us something else about the stock market or about our financial situation or reparations. Like, give us something that we can actually discuss that makes sense. Yeah. So self-preservation, and also I think that how you confront your fears is ultimately the type of person that you'll be. You know, if you are a kid and you heard a sound at night and you went to kind of check it out, I think that as you grow into adulthood, you'll be more likely to go and investigate a problem that you have. You know, if you hide under the cover, you know, then you'll spend probably the rest of your life running away from your issues. So being able to confront your fears in an honest way and understand how to do it constructively and not being afraid of what it looks like to everybody else, I think that's a starting point. You know, like that is the starting point of knowing how you need to deal with people, right? Will Smith wouldn't have to get up and slap somebody if he wasn't fearful that his manhood was on the line. You know, you don't have to do that. Like you know, you made a great point. That can't be the representative of who this man is in this moment. When if he was okay with confronting his fears, like you said, the most powerful statement would have been pulling his wife close and kissing her on the head and showing what love looks like, despite what somebody is saying. You know, that's a way to confront the fear. You know, so I think that, you know, like starting at that place of knowing who you are and how to protect yourself in a fearful moment is just one of the ways that we can start.
That's emotional intelligence.
That's emotional intelligence. That's heavy, man. As you were talking, I was just thinking about my own self. And because we should be looking at these things and not pointing the fingers at anybody without also reflecting upon, you know, who we are and where we are in this, you know, in this world. And I don't feel sorry for anybody because everybody's making a choice. Everybody's choosing. You know what I'm saying? Chris Rock chose not to press charges. Will Smith is choosing to remain with her. She's rich. Everybody is choosing, making the choice. And I think about the trauma in my life, man, of whether it was moving around a lot, you know what I'm saying, from the homeless shelters, moving around, which caused what I perceived to be an issue, caused instability in my life, But as I got older, I said, no, this is just, no, I'm able to move around. This is, I took away the pain of the trauma, and I gave power to what it pulled out of me. You know what I mean?
It.
So like transmuted it. Yeah, like, okay, my father wasn't there, but that also put in me a passion to fight for my community. So as hurt as I am, it's like the yin and the yang, you know? Yeah. As hurt as I am, I'm also appreciative of what it brought out of me, you know? And as sad as I am at my mother physically being gone, one day I was just walking, and if you ever see me walking and talking to myself, don't interrupt the conversation, okay? And I was just started smiling and laughing like, yo, man, I had a mother like that. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I'm so thankful I had a mother like that. I'm so thankful that I had the chance to enjoy her for, like, there's people who I know, you know what I'm saying? I've been knowing Dub, man, for over 25 years. I've been knowing Anthony longer than I've been with my mother. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've been with Anthony long on this planet longer than I was with my mother. Wow. You know what I mean? But she's still within me. So I guess as we talk about healing and moving forward, and even in the relationships that we all get into, you have to know what makes you happy. What makes you happy? What makes me, do I accept you for who you are? Like, for who you are, do I accept you for who you are? With that, if you never changed, if you was the same person today, you understand, 10 years from now, would I be appreciative of that, or would I be consistently talking about you not the woman that I want you to be? If that is the situation, then you have to make a decision. You understand? You have to make a decision. This ain't the place that I desire to be, because that's not. Now, tomorrow you may look at life differently. You may view life differently. You should.
I was going to say, yeah. So
right?
when the person evolves, then what?
Right. Then what? Tell me.
That's what I want to know. Like, do you stay in that situation and say, exactly how you are right now, I have to accept you completely, totally right now, and then tomorrow you change, and I have to adapt to that change then tomorrow? So where's our barometer? Where's our measure stick? Because if you're constantly evolving and growing and discovering this new place within yourself, your partner, your person in this world with you, they'll have to evolve also. They'd have to agree to evolve and change and agree.
For themselves, though.
For themselves, but in partnership with you. So if in partnership with you, and we're watching and we see, and it's this and it's that and it's that, and then the other person is like, okay, I'm here. I'm still a part of the situation. Are you accepting me and my growth too?
Yeah, I don't think that be controversial. I don't think that people change in that way. I don't think that the characteristics of people change. I think that who you was is who you gonna be, as far as like your core. Like, if a person is stingy, I don't think they become giving.
Unless they get everything taken away.
That's why acceptance is so important, though, because acceptance is like, it lies between 2 points. If something is unacceptable to you, it is outside of the thing that you are gonna live every day. So if I have a person that I'm dating and this person steals, then if I accept them, I also accept the idea that stealing could occur. And it's okay. And it's okay. Right. You know what I mean? Like, right. I have accepted that. So when you accept somebody, you give them room to be who they are. And when you don't accept something, it lies outside of what you would do anyway. So it's not even a...
So with that, at that point, what do you do? What do you do at that point if you say, hey, I don't accept this, but you stay in it? You stay with that person. Are you really accepting it? Are you just talking, or, you know,
definitely.
What is it?
You're definitely just talking, because then that means that you are not standing on the principles that you set.
But do you like every single thing about your person? Do you like and love every single thing about you? I might not even like the way you put the cap on the toothpaste.
I think
right?
you should.
I'm just being funny in this moment. You don't love and like every single thing about the person that you're with. You grow to like more about it or love it eventually. But if it's something that they do and you don't like it at all, and it rubs you the wrong way, it's not a deal breaker, but it's something that just rubs you the wrong way.
Well, what if it is a deal breaker? I mean, there may be things that is like, yo.
Then that person needs to know their shoelaces are too tight and take it off.
Now listen, not because you're making the shoelaces and toothpaste caps. I'm saying character.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the character, or maybe there's actions, maybe there's things that you may do that, man, I can't ever accept that.
But you knew the
and it may be
character of the
culturally.
person.
Do you?
See, I don't think that. I think people are making a decision about how, if they want to be with a person after they get with the person, right? You get with the person, you give them your most valuable, whatever it is you have to offer, and then from there you are evaluating their character for like compliance. Like if somebody has already seen the best that you have to offer, what reason do they ever have to conform to what you want?
So now let me ask you this question though, because maybe I have idea that what you're giving me is not the best that you have to offer. I believe that you can give me more, but you don't see it within yourself. So I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna continue to push you, continue to show you different things, and maybe you will see that is not the best that you have to offer. There's more to you.
But it also could be the opposite of that, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about
right.
the unrealistic
Right.
optimism, like that we talked about, that unrealistic idea that something is gonna be there even though this person doesn't know yet. That may not ever happen.
Yeah.
So you waiting on a train that's never gonna come, right?
That's
But you building a life and you building this space for a person, right? Like you've planned the trip to a place with a person, and the train is never gonna come, and they sitting there with you like, yeah, this is where I plan to be. I plan to be right here at this bus stop, and you got your bags waiting to go somewhere else.
That's tough, man.
That's
it
rough.
ain't coming. That train
tough.
is not coming. So
That's a self-realization and self-love though aspect that somebody is missing. Because if you sit there and willingly let somebody put you through all of these particular things, knowing that they're not going to take you or not, it's not. It's just a not. All right. If once you
When
understand,
do you know it's not though? When do you know it's not?
I think you know when it's a not. I think you know when it's a not. The energy of the thing changes when it's a not. It's a not. Like you can't get that off.
right.
It's a not.
Yeah, I think the knowing is in the reality, right?
Yeah, like
I've repeated the same thing with this person.
right.
Right. That may be an indicator of maybe an
It's a
unrealistic
lie.
expectation of who this person is. Like
Sure.
healing is accepting the reality of what the situation is and whether or not you can continue in that reality and be fulfilled.
And this comes to me because I like to always bring stuff to from my own self, and hopefully my life can be of benefit. Some of the trauma that I have experienced when I was younger, going back to the whole instability piece, is that sometimes I found myself in my life staying in situations that the comfortability of consistency, even if it was consistently traumatic or consistently toxic, even if there was, listen, everything is not always anything, you know what I'm saying? There's always going to be some sunshine, there's going to be some clouds or whatever,
Right.
but dealing with some of the same issues, the comfortability of it would supersede the feeling of toxicity.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So some of us may be in situations because he gonna do this, but
Right.
I know he gonna do this too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm gonna just stick around because that's the father of my children, or that's the mother of my children, or she cooked cornbread the way I like it. So you know what?
Right.
Can't nobody cook no cornbread like she can cook it. Don't nobody cook that cornbread like you can cook it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm staying here, even though I ain't like nothing else on the plate.
Wow.
But just but we go through that as children. Like we spend our adult lives trying to make up for what happened to us as kids. You know what I mean? And at some point we have to come to that realization that what I went through is not who I am.
So then in that piece, if you're going to go from that trauma, then you have to also accept the other person who might be in the trauma that they came up with was abandonment. And so in their abandonment, they're like, I'm going to stick and stay because one thing I don't want to feel again is abandoned.
Right.
So I'm going to be the person that stands nearby. I'm going to champion you on, cheer you on. Let's go. I got my bag. You got your bag. I got my bag. We ready. I'm going to sit right here at the train station with you. And if we selling this together, we selling this together at the train station. And that person is probably in the middle of that space, not wanting to experience that type of abandonment again. And then here you are, these two people with these two traumas.
Wow, you just talked about our community in like 10 seconds. That's
and
the
so
reality.
why we're always wondering
So
why
now
there's
what?
such a divide.
Now what?
Well, it brings us to another subject. I think you talk about it quite a bit, fasting.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because fasting, I'm not Muslim in the religious sense and in the
You are Muslim,
in the practice, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't particularly celebrate or fast during a particular time, but I fast often. And I fast often to get a clear state of myself, clear mind, clear body, clear all of those things. And I think it's important that we do that on a regular basis because it helps to bring things into balance that you wouldn't otherwise even realize was out of balance.
Right.
And so I'm sure you can speak to it in a
the month of Ramadan is coming up, for the Islamic faith. And as I've been telling people, man, I would hope that my friends who are not Islamically active, but all my friends are Islamically active.
Well,
because there's this human it's this human expectation that God puts on us, and Islam puts it into certain rules and regulations, and every faith has that. Sure. But what fasting does is that it's all about the denial of self, the denial of the ego, denial of the things that are like that we crave more than anything. You understand? Food, water, sex. You know what I'm saying? These are things that we crave more than anything, and being able to deny oneself for that, you become free, because many of us are enslaved by our desires. And I think this is very important. And for those who are, as I said, not Muslim, I hope that you can join me with it. But the healing that you are talking about, I think that we all need to go on. Me first and foremost. And being able to have good people. Yeah. If I would say anything, as we get into, kind of what are some things that you do for yourself that maybe that you can share with the audience, for me is just recognizing that I am not the world's perspective. I don't embrace the world's perspective of me. I don't embrace anyone else's perspective of who they think that I should be. At some point I did, though. Mm-hmm. And it was probably one of the most depressed times in my life. For years, I was gauging myself based upon what those who I love viewed. Because sometimes even the people that you love can view you in a way that is toxic. And you're trying to, like our brother Will Smith, you know what I'm saying? You're trying to live up to this toxic expectation from this person that you love, because why would they do that to you? Right. They wouldn't do that to you, but we put ourselves in a box. And what's the world's perspective of me as a Muslim, as a African American, you know what I'm saying, as a black man, you know what I'm saying, born in Brooklyn, raised on Huff in Cleveland? Like, what is the expectations of that person? And as I was, when I was running for mayor, it really came slap dead in my face in a way that hadn't before. With the media, pushing the narrative of who they believe that Muslims are, or the media pushing the narrative of who they thought this revolutionary black man was. And I would come and knock on doors, and they would be like, "We know you," and they would close the door. Ooh. Because they embraced the perspective of what the world has said about me without giving me an opportunity to do it. So I would say to everyone out there is to try to tap into who you are. Who are you? Who are you? Your trauma does not make you who you are, but if you pay attention and really reflect and be around good people, you know what I'm saying, the pain of that trauma could also be like the pain of giving birth. And you can look at yourself and say, wow, though I went through that, this is what it also gave me. This is what I also benefited from these times. You know what I'm saying? Now, I was talking to Anthony last night, like, dang, like me and this dude been together for over 25 years. Like, but I had people that I grew up with who we buried, who got shot and killed. You understand? So for us to be from this place that we from and to still be here is something to be thankful for. So I don't think that we give ourselves enough props or give ourselves enough flowers. We're waiting for the world to give us flowers rather than saying, you know what, I was able to accomplish this and I'm thankful. And then making everybody around you, like you got I was telling my son, like, yo, you got the power in your legs to get up and leave any situation that don't make you feel good.
Yeah.
Don't ever feel like you got to sit and be somewhere where you feel uncomfortable. You feel like you're not happy. You don't ever have to do that. You can get up and go wherever you want to go and do whatever you want to do.
And the flip side of that is I tell my daughter, you have to be responsible for the energy that you bring. You know what I mean? Like when you go into a situation, you got to be responsible for the energy that you bring. You might have had a bad moment that day. You might have had a bad situation, but that doesn't mean bring it into a situation and create a cancer in some kind of way. You know what I mean? You don't want to do that. And so I think if we're raising our children, you don't have to be in this space. You don't have to be mistreated, but you also need to be responsible for the energy that you bring. I think that's a part of
That was good.
us healing on our generations, that's coming
That's
up
deep.
after us and moving forward. That's a way that we can help.
So not just not being somewhere, but not bringing
it either.
That's deep, man.
You got to
That was
be
good.
responsible for your energy.
That was good. That was good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think one of the best forms of self-care that we can use for ourselves is patience.
Ooh.
You know, allowing yourself to flesh out these ideas and these experiences and not really putting too much pressure to have to come to an answer or to a decision on the day you have the thought. You know, patience and then advocacy. You know, there is a lot of people that may not be in the space that you are or that you have come to, but our community specifically, we need people on the front lines that advocate. Like you said, we have been together 25 years, and a lot of it has been spent advocating for people that just we didn't have those issues personally, but just being able to advocate for people who are going through something that we can understand, so you understand it, you get a chance to advocate for those who can't advocate for themselves medically, mentally, physically, emotionally. People are going through things that they don't understand. And a lot of the reason that they don't understand it is because there's nobody to truly advocate for them in the way that they're not asking for anything in return. Like that's the best gift that you can give somebody is to give them some information with no expectation of doing something for you, but just doing better for themselves. So, patience for yourself and then advocating for the people that may not be where you are.
How do you, as a woman, how do you like to be loved?
Ooh, all of the love languages, all of them. I don't want to discount any of them because I appreciate all of what they are. And so I appreciate communication. That's love to me. That's care. Love is easy to do, right? We can love, love, love. But when you put that love into a verb and make it a verb, there's action that comes with that. There's responsibility. There's accountability. There's a particular kind of care and protection and provision, and that doesn't necessarily mean money, but it means caring for my heart, caring for my spirit, caring for how I'm thinking and feeling, and actually being able to speak into me in the way that I am able to speak into others, or even to my partner. So it's just one of those things that, like, it's not as complex, but it's not just as simple either.
That's a good question. How do you like to be loved? How would you? I would say I would go back. I would go to the OGs. I would rely on them for that. I'm looking for cooperation. That's how I want to be loved. Just cooperate with me.
But is that it? Is that sufficient?
That's for me. That is perfect because that shows that you have the ability to set aside your own personal beliefs sometimes for the goal of whatever I'm trying to accomplish. I don't need to be loved in the sense romantic all the time. Sometimes that's like, that just kind of take me off my mission. You know, like I don't really want to sit too long and be romantic in a space that I don't have time to be romantic. You know, sometimes I'm just trying to get something done, and I need you to. If you feeling romantic, sometimes you gotta save that for later because we got a mission right now. So I just need cooperation.
That was
Isn't
deep.
that accountability too, though? Is that a part of that?
I think it could be. I think it could be. Being accountable in the sense that I'm not going to put what I want before someone else, you know, before my partner. If they have expressed to me that this is what they're trying to do, and I have already agreed to cooperate, then I have to be accountable in the sense that I gave my word that I'm going to make this happen.
Sure.
So, in that sense,
It was good just to see the, you know, the woman's perspective of, you know, what it means to be loved, and as men, our perspective of what it means to be loved. For me, I think that's what it's about, man. As you said, as our focus is, we are here for an allotted time, and we got a mission to complete, and nothing comes before that mission. No woman, no child, no auntie, no uncle. No one comes before the purpose of what, I'm sure I can speak for Anthony, I speak for myself, the mission that we were sent here to accomplish. Now that mission may include family. That mission will include community. It will include all these other different things, but nothing can come before that. And everything is a part of that. You know what I'm saying? Everything is a part of that. So love is different. Love is different. We see love in a different way, but loving the self is the first part. In the Quran, it says, and the beautiful, it says, save yourself and your family from a hellfire that's fuel as men and stones. You know that when we go into the airplane, the first thing the stewardess say is, put your mask on first. Right? So if we're going to be a family, there is, and I know we in America right now, everything is, you know, fluid and so forth and so on. But for me, I do believe that there are roles that exist. Absolutely. And maybe it may not be the you know, the old school feminine, but everybody got a job to do.
Yeah.
And everybody got to do it well. And we're going to hold you accountable for what you say that you're going to do. And if you can't do it, then you need to say that you can't do it, as you talked about communication, which many of us have a hard time in doing because we never saw it. So now many of us are first generations of trying to be what we never saw. And so our sons, you know, they just, you know, Crocs and Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? They don't know nothing about, you know what I'm saying, walking down 79th and Superior on a late night, you know what I'm saying, trying to get home because we ain't had no food. They don't know nothing about that on purpose. But there is a certain weakness that comes with that, you know. There's a certain lack of understanding that comes with that as well because they ain't struggled for it, so they don't get it. So we are the first generation of men who, like, I don't know any men that I spend time with who are bad fathers. And all of them came from situations where their father wasn't there. All of them came from situations like that. You know what I mean? So for everybody out there that's tuned in as we close, any final comments for the people?
I did want to speak to the being what we can't see point. I think we're in a space now, information age, everything is at your fingertips. You can research every single thing. So if it's not something that you can see, you can research it and find out more. You can always do that, learning through your community, learning through these brothers right here. I mean, these are amazing gentlemen here who set the standard, set a very high bar on what it means, even in their human experiences. And so I think when we reach out and we figure out that in those spaces, in these particular spaces, education is needed. A different understanding is needed. It's not going to look like what it used to, but if we're willing and open to research and figure out and find and grow and evolve into some other spaces that it may be a little different. You might have to fast. You might have to stop doing this, that, and the third to figure out what works out best and better for you. It's a very This is something.
It's a beautiful journey, isn't it?
It is. It's quite the beautiful journey, and I'm glad to be on it with people who understand, who are open enough to understand. It's great.
Dub, any last words, man?
I would just say, I think you brought it up earlier, the power of good company, and how important it is to just be in the presence of people that you can learn from. You also have to bring something to the table, though, even if it's just a positive spirit, and a good personality. Bring that to the table if that's what you have. But, the power of good company, and the first person that you should learn to have a good conversation with is yourself. Because like you said, a lot of times we are the first generation of many things, and you don't have a lot of outlets to discuss the things that you go through. So you have to be that for yourself. Like you said, sometimes when I'm having a good conversation, don't interrupt. If you hear me in the bathroom and I'm really into that conversation, don't ask who in there. Just let me let me flesh through my ideas, man. So you have to be a friend to yourself first, and then be able to put yourself in the company of people that are willing to be a friend to you.
That's perfect, man. Watt, Stephanie, man, I appreciate y'all so much. Hey, listen, these opinions may not be yours, and that's okay. What we want to encourage you is have the strength to have your own, to have your opinion. Be willing to stand up on your 10 toes, your 2 feet, and be able to, with your back straight, say this is what you believe. And at the same time, be courageous enough to change it just like that if necessary, based upon new information that comes to you. So we all are going through something. We all are going through the human experience. We ask God to bless the family of Will Smith and bless the family and the children and everyone who was impacted, Chris Rock and his family, everyone who was impacted by just watching it or, being able to see it in traumatic experiences. You had to relive them because of what you saw. But only God is God. Only God is God. Every last one of us are going through this human experience. And Dub said it best, man. Be patient with yourself. You can't be patient with nobody else until you can be patient with yourself as you're going through the journey of life. To Gwen, to Anthony, I thank you all so much for joining us. May God bless y'all, protect you, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
Bye.